Welcome to the New Overlords Podcast, a video game show where I'm joined every week by someone who would never hold a gum jabbar to your neck and make you put your hand in the box. It's Sema. Hello there, Sema.
But Max, how else will I know if you're human?
Yes. I was thinking about that, right? So this is the scene that's from Dune, and it also shows up in the early access test demo character creator that we see this week. I didn't read a lot of the extra books. Did they ever explain, like, do they end up with like a lot of people that they have to like gom jabbar to death because they're too animalistic? I mean, was that
Right.
like a thing that is just like humans had evolved to?
They had to guard against.
Yeah, like, was this really a huge concern? Now, because I was like, how many people? If it was just going to be like an extra bit of drama that they were putting Paul through, but it wasn't like a regular occurrence, then maybe that's one thing. But because it shows up, and we'll talk about it in a second here in the news, because it shows up in the trailer, and basically I guess it's going to be every single player of Dune Awakening in theory is going through this as well. Yeah, how many people are they gom jabbarring on a regular basis?
You're just an animal.
I guess I am an animal, but you could command. Sema's got that commanding voice. She could make us do it if she wanted to. She just chooses not to.
Right.
Hey, light no fire. Boy, that's so hot right now. Apparently, the video version of our show gets like 50 views. Maybe on a hot week, it'll get closer to 100. For the video version on YouTube. We're a podcast. Our video last week, I think we tricked the algorithm or something, and it
Totally by accident.
decided it accidentally forgot to bury us. Because we'll get because this is what happens. We'll get like no views for the first like couple hours, no views, or we'll get like one. And then for the next like 36 hours, we'll get all of our 50 views or whatever we're going to get. And then it goes to zero. And how it can stay zero then and never get another view, YouTube is obviously burying it. They just like don't show it to anybody. And if somebody actually like has to like paw through our feed or go to our page and like dig around or something, I don't know what the deal is, but they don't. This one, we're already up to 1.3, 1,300 views on last week's show. So I don't know what the deal is. The algorithm made a mistake and forgot that we were on the bury list, and just started showing it to everybody. Not a lot of comments, and people aren't watching a super long amount of time. I think people are also super hungry for Light No Fire news. And then unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of new news. We had some good analysis, I feel. Still worth it. But I think people saw Light No Fire and are like, oh, please let there be something new. Say it's getting released tomorrow. And
then they went, oh, these guys.
Right. Yeah, because we didn't get a ton of new subscribers or anything off of it, but it was fun. It was fun. I don't know, Stask, but even so, we've done other hot games and hot topics before, and they don't do this. They don't do 1,300 YouTube views. So that's kind of crazy. Anyway, we've got other news this week. I don't know if Avowed is going to be the big draw for another 1,300 views this week. I bet we're going to YouTube is going to remember, and we're going to get back on the buried list. We'll see. But let's get into some news.
Good news, everyone.
Also, this did come up last week. If you are looking for Avowed, it comes in the second half of the show. The big topic comes in the second half of the show. I'll put a chapter marker in, which I put in late last week because there was only a couple comments on the video. And one of the comments was, tune in for Light No Fire and No Man's Sky, and they're just talking about WoW for 5 minutes. It's like, well, yeah, that's what we do. It's to get the news up front, and we tried to switch it up and have the segment up front. It doesn't really work. So we're doing news. We've got game news. We're talking about Avowed in the second half. It's chapter marker. You can go to it right now. Thumbs up. All right. First up in the news, Dune Awakening has a release date. It is May 20th. So if you have ever listened to this show before, you probably heard us talk about Dune Awakening because it is a survival game. And I like survival and I like sci-fi and I like Dune. This hits on a lot of things that are very relevant to my interests. So I am hot for this game, as they say, as the kids say these days. What they also released on Steam is a benchmark tool with a character creator that's part of it. It doesn't do a lot, but you can use the character creator. And the benchmark tool is kind of clever. So what the benchmark tool allows you to do is you download it off of Steam, you play it. And what a benchmark tool does is it's going to try to like test your video card. And the way they do it, and I think what they're actually doing is they're loading the levels. So they load like 3 of the levels and they're like checking your frame rate and how it handles like loading all of the textures. And they've got some special effects and some animations. But because they're actually loading the levels, they show it to you too. So you get to get a little bit of a walkthrough of like a little indoor town area, a base building area, and an outdoor area out in the desert, in the deep desert. So that was cool. It's cool to like see it in action. And because they're ticking up the frame rate, it's got to be actual levels loaded. Otherwise, that would be useless to them to have like pre-rendered content and be checking the frames on it. So I expect that is, which is a nice, then a little bit of a hint and preview and in-game trailer for all of us to be looking closely at. And it looks good. It looks really good. The ornithopters look good as you're like running up to them and running around. The desert looks good. The sci-fi stuff inside the cities looks good. The parts that people are worried about and might be a little underdeveloped is like, how does the combat feel? Because combat's hard to do, especially in a multiplayer game. Does it feel a little too floaty? Blah blah blah. That never bothers me very much. Well, maybe it does bother me a little bit more than I'll say. If it doesn't control well, it might not. When we talk about Avowed, it's well known for good fighting and combat, but I had a little bit of issues with it that I'll get to. So maybe I'm a little more sensitive to it than I thought. However, what I'm really excited about is the gameplay stuff and the character creator. I think its character creator is fine. We've had so many great character creators these days that they're all pretty good and I don't think anything is mind-blowing anymore these days until you'll get like a couple outliers where you can replicate your own face. You can replicate any star, and Baldur's Gate was getting close to that. Veilguard was not, and this is a little bit more on the not. There's only a couple dozen hairstyles, and there was one that was close, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted. So I'm showing it on the screen. It's got a little bit of the receding hairstyle that's probably closest to my hairstyle, but it's a little bit too much and it's not spiky enough. So I went with another one that was just more of like the buzz cut, but too much of a hairline for me. So I went back and forth on this, and I couldn't make my face everything that I wanted, and I couldn't do it in Avowed either. But they're all good. They're all good character creators. So you got plenty of things that you can play with, that you can mess around with, and the character creator does look good. So this is what I ended up with. This is my dude.
Yeah, it does look good.
So I was pretty happy with it by the end. Gave him some scars. I like to whenever I care. In fact, I should scrub back through the video here. Can I find? I'll show what I do, which is I have like some pictures of myself, like here on the podcast. Like it's actually a clip out of the podcast. I think I use it in my screens these days. I don't see where I do it, but I put it up on the screen. I put it on the second screen, and then I try to make the character look as close to my face as I can, just because I like to do that. And at one point I even drag it onto the video screen. I don't see it, but that's okay. So yeah, I put them side by side, try to make it look like me. Most people don't. We had a little bit of discussion about this last week, even, I think. Most people don't, but I do for whatever reason, for fun. But I always like to give give my character some scars to. So it's me, but it's maybe like a roughed up version of me.
Right. You've been through the wars.
Right. All these like pretty pasty faced waifish characters that people that they like present to you, like a lot of the presets. You're like down in the deep desert. You lived a life. Well, my characters have all lived a life. Maybe their characters have not. So yeah, my dude, I was pretty happy with how it came out. Yeah, so that's just like me. See, it says those abs. So that was fun. Go download it. We've got a little bit of time to play with that. May 20th is the date that's coming out, and I am excited, as I say. What else? We got some other news that we got hot off the presses, wasn't it, Sema? Tell us about what we heard, and I did too. I was there live at 1 p.m. Central. What did we get?
Well, we got the live stream for 7.6.1 in Star Wars The Old Republic, so they did it today instead of tomorrow.
Yeah, right. They did it before the show instead of after the show, to be clear. They must have accidentally got it scheduled a little bit too early.
I'm sure it was an accident.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest news is 7.6.1, and it's not really news, but the biggest feature is that I'll be bringing Galactic Seasons 8, and it's called Rising Powers, which refers to the fact that they're doing a feature this time they haven't tried before, which is to take Uprisings, which is an existing content piece. It's like an instanced small group type of content, and giving you wild and wacky powers to run in there and just overpower everything. So that sounds like a fun idea. I am looking forward to trying it out. Based on what they showed us today, it seems like we might not be as overpowered as I want to be, but I guess we'll have to find out when it happens.
Yep. We'll be the judge of that. Certainly.
It's called Rising Powers because uprisings, and they're giving us powers.
Yes. Overall, seems interesting. I like that idea. A lot of games have sort of played with this. Plunderstorm in WoW kind of plays with this.
Remix.
Yeah, remix in like a longer, build up over time, RPG out this kind of concept, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So far what they described is a little less than that. I kind of was hoping for a little bit more, but it could still feel interesting and fun, because they only talked about like 3 different abilities that are part of the mix at this point, but we'll see. So yeah, bunch of other things they mentioned. We might go a little bit deeper into this into the future, especially if they give us some previews, but it should be coming relatively soon, right? So they said March time frame.
Yep.
So not a specific date yet, but it's already, I didn't even realize it is, we're at like 2 days from the end of February, aren't we?
Yep. I thought there would be a PTS coming up after this, but it doesn't seem like they're, did they say that?
No.
Because
I don't think so. And I don't know what they would be able to put on it, because they can't really, they could put the season on it, I guess.
Yeah, they could, well, maybe not the season,
Uprising.
but at least the uprisings, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think, the only things I heard them say about the PTS was they're continuing to do work on character modernization.
Right.
And after this release, so by the end of March, they do hope to have a PTS up with some of those changes in, so that the people that are part of that community that really is interested in it can get in there and check it out and see if they're happy with those changes. I feel bad about how that sort of worked out for them with those character changes. And I think it's turning out to be a lot more work than they probably expected.
Yeah, I think it'll be more clear to me, the dates and the PTS and all that stuff, when they do publish their the summary of the live stream, because in my listening, I didn't hear them say that, but that could have been a miss on my part.
Right. I usually prefer to not watch these kinds of streams live, because I want to pause, I want to take notes, I want to go back and forth.
Yeah.
Some parts I want to play on double speed. So, I can scrub past that, like this, seeing the trailers in the beginning, that kind of thing. I don't need to see that. Fun to see
Another
the dev
thing
team,
that-
though. So that's cool.
Another thing that they're doing is they're providing some updates to Bessie, who's a companion that you can earn through their venture system.
Yes.
Which I did earn. I do have Bessie, and I'm looking forward to getting those. But you have to work for them. But also, I like that they're adding to Bessie's stable of things that give her progression, the new dynamic encounters. So now I can sort of do what I like to do, which is move a bunch of bars at once, so that when I'm doing dynamic encounters, I'm working towards achievements in dynamic encounters. I'm working towards Bessie stuff, and some of that stuff will count towards conquest. Some will count towards galactic seasons. It's a bar paradise for me.
I have not finished Bessie, and you talking about that, if there's a way to combine some of that, if I can I do pre completion Bessie in dynamic encounters? Probably not.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Okay. Well, then
Because
that might be a fun thing to do.
Yeah, because they said that the dynamic encounter training missions will be available on the vendor. You just have to buy them.
Some of those levels, when you're ranking her up, though, some of them require specific planets, and if it's not one of the 2 dynamic encounter planets, that won't help. But we'll see.
But they also require things like, gathering the little thing that drops when you have her, and also her, killing a bunch of. Like, it worked out for me because I like to do dailies with a modicum, with the least amount of killing.
Yeah.
So I would come out, I'd have everything done, but then I would still need to kill like 80 mobs or whatever. So then you could go and do dynamic encounters.
This skin I really like. I don't know why. They call it like the healer skin or something like that. Support.
Yeah, support. I like it too.
It's cool. This is like the best one, I think. They were going gaga over the combat one.
Yeah,
which is also cool.
Right.
But that white one, I think, is something different, something cool. Yeah, I like that. Now I want to make a character that matches that. Do like
black one looks like Alabama grasshoppers.
Alabama grasshoppers, red and black. They break your back. That's what Sema says.
Ooh. Anyway,
so we'll keep an eye on that.
Lots of deck goes coming to the cartel market. They also talked about an improved speeder rank for subs. I didn't quite track on that one because they were also comparing it to the button you get when you buy the certain.
It's that for people that haven't bought the certain.
Okay.
Now only subscribers can get it because they didn't want to devalue that thing that you bought too much. But they wanted a way to provide it on more than just the one, and it'll end up being 2 mounts in the game.
So what we're talking about is when you mount, you get an extra action button, and whenever you want to click it, you'll get like a little burst of speed. So it's like a sprint for your mount, and then it goes on cooldown, like a sprint would do. And even if so it's kind of similar to the tactical you could get through the racing event that makes you go really fast when you first mount.
Right.
Similar to that, but
with something you'd need to slot into your character, which makes it
right. And also you don't have any control over it. It's always just right when you mount.
Speaking of mounts that go fast, Sema, what can you tell me about mounts in other games?
So yesterday was when the Undermine 11.1 in WoW content patch dropped. So you're referring to the new kind of transport there, which is the Goblin Car, and it has an acronym DRIVE, which actually has words associated with it. I forget what they are.
They don't matter.
But
it's just that it's bus drive.
They don't matter. Right.
It's one of those.
I personally haven't gotten as far as messing with the new car and how to do it yet. As you can imagine, some people love it. Some people are like, understand it. Well, I'm sure I'll be in the second camp, at least initially. Yeah, so more on that. But it's kind of interesting. Like I played it for an hour or two this morning. I was kind of just messing around, so I didn't get as far as probably some more focused people got. But yes, it's goblin-y, and when you do get to the new zone, it's very bright and, punny, and you know how goblins are supposed to be funny. But getting there, there was a lot of dead goblins. Like there were dead goblin bodies all over the ground.
Oh,
In Ringing Deeps, and the cinematic, as you know, has at least one very startling. I don't want to be too.
I'm playing it right now, so
Okay. Yeah.
It's the cinematic is the what was the
Gallywix.
Yeah, but it was the Al Capone scene from the Kevin Costner movie.
Oh, see, I did not catch onto that.
It's the Al Capone scene where the bosses, and it's not exactly that, because that would somebody was disloyal. This scene has been done other places. There's a really good version of this with Oren Ishii in Kill Bill that I love. Kill Bill Part 1. You get the one instigator disloyal member around the conference table, and then the big boss comes in, and then that person's like acting up or talking back or being disloyal, and they takes him out. It's violent. It's kind of like rough, and the whole tone of that scene in the movies where it's drawn from is very tense, and it follows. And here, it's not a fun. It's not a fun trailer.
Right, I agree. In spite of us, like green and purple, and he's got stars on his hat, and
funny goblins. No, that was
right.
Not fun. That was not fun.
Right, exactly.
Not fun or funny at all. It's very disturbing in a lot of ways. And then Xal'atath shows up at the end. I did notice they did not show Xal'atath's feet, so I'm wondering if they were like trying to back off from that just a little bit.
Well, so the beginning part is in the Ringing Deeps, which is an existing zone in the game. So I did that part this morning, and I just arrived in Undermine. Yeah, and the dead goblins in the Ringing, they're like ones that like escaped from Undermine. So like they left Undermine because of this oppressive, black blood based regime.
What killed them? What are they dying of?
They got killed by other goblins who found out that they were not faithful to this guy Gallywix, or they got killed by black blood stuff. And black blood is like going to be the recurring. I mean, we've already had to deal with black blood quite a bit in this.
It's a thing.
The War Within.
Thing and a stuff and a thing. Right,
and I kind of like it because it ties back to it's the blood of the old gods. There's a lot of it underground, and it was released when Sargeras, like 5 years ago, threw this sword into Silithus.
A lot of blood down there. The blood of Azeroth. Azeroth cries out. That got released. Then the old god blood got released. I think who knows? Could be more blood next time. A lot of blood. blood.
Anyway,
urge like blood.
So far, it's fun, but it's actually not light. It's serious.
Serious stuff. Yeah, a bunch of dead goblins. That's not fun either.
Jay Malman is letting us know that the black blood was even before that. It cropped up in BFA in Zandalar with the blood trolls. I did not realize that. So yeah, that's an earlier spec. Yeah. Then yeah.
All right. Well, sounds fun. Quick rundown of things that are coming soon that we're keeping our eye on. It's going to be fun to watch other people play Split Fiction in particular. I am looking forward to seeing how that goes. I would like to try it a little bit, but it's it's co-op required kind of thing, which sounds really fun for the people that are into that. And I really like the look and story, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. March 20th, we are finally getting Assassin's Creed Shadows. I am interested in how that plays out in a number of ways. I think it's not going to have it's not going to be a rosy picture, undeservedly so. I think I bet it's a great game, and I bet it's not going to get the praise it deserves, and it's going to get unreasonable hate because that's a fun thing to do.
Right.
March 27th is that one we keep talking about. Atomfall, which looks kind of cool. Two others that were added to list. We'll just mention, we won't go into too much detail because we want to talk about Avowed here in just a minute, but we did see the trailer for this before and have talked about it. Inzoi, small I, small n, capital Z, capital O, capital I. It's The Sims in Unreal 5. That's the way I would basically describe it. That is finally releasing on, I don't think, is it early access on March 28th or is it full release on March 28th? Anyway, you'll be able to play it on March 28th. I think it's release because it's been in early access. So this must be release. Very, almost like GTA 5 looking or GTA 6 looking graphics, and the character creator. You talk about character creators, you can really dress up your character at least. Maybe you can't make their faces look like your face. I wonder if I can. No, these are looking more like a little bit pre-framed, but really high quality. I don't know. There's a lot in here. But very Sims-like. You give your characters lives, you get a job and relationships and run around and do things and get outfits and build your little apartment and build a pool with no ladders and let them drown, whatnot. Sims things. This guy's was running around in his apartment. There's a lot of people getting smacked. His TV breaks and then it electrocutes him. Right? So you're making grilled cheese sandwiches in The Sims and setting my whole house on fire because I'm so bad. Still cracks me up every time I think of it. How can you make a grilled cheese sandwich and burn yourself and you set yourself and your whole house on fire and have to buy a new stove because that's how bad you are at making a grilled cheese sandwich. Impossibly bad. Multiple times in this trailer, people get smacked in the face though. It's like significant others or like people on a date smack you in the face. This like boss at your job smacks you in the face. I don't know what's going on about getting smacked in the face. Nobody's smacking me in the face. My father smacked me in the face once, Johnny. Once. Anyway, we'll keep an eye on that. And then another one, which I want to talk a ton more about, and maybe we'll spend next week talking about it, even though it doesn't even have a date yet. But I've come across this and started looking deeper and deeper. I think we saw a little bit of a preview of it, and it's getting more play, and some videos are being made, and people are getting early access views of it, content creators. It's called Jump Ship.
Yeah.
The co-op version of Jump Ship. Again, it might be more fun to watch people play, but even just like watching the video of like the dev playthrough or whatever it is was fascinating. And it's an adventure, but I think we'll get into it deeper next week. So it looks really good. There's like first person and third person views and squad base of you flying your ship around and assaulting other ships and going on missions and things like that. But because you have the opportunity to go into first person view and run around the ship while other things are happening, you could have one person flying the ship and two other people running around like fixing damage, maybe like assaulting the enemy, like boarding parties that are jumping off of your ship and going over to the other ships, and really, really cool looking. So more on that to come. I can't wait to see where this goes because it's something new. It's a new way to play that I'm really excited to see more experimental stuff like this. That is it for the news, though. This podcast is brought to you by Garden and a Goat, the upcoming game from Contemplation Games. We were going to put out a couple new things to see about Garden and a Goat, but we've got Next Fest going on this week. Might have some highlights from Next Fest next week. Garden and a Goat is not in Next Fest this time around, so maybe we'll let those cook. Let Next Fest cook this week, and we'll show off some of our stuff after that settles down next week. This podcast is also brought to you by, as always, Lea Yacht Est. Sorry, coughing into the microphone is never good. AIE-guild.org is where you can find more about that gaming community that we are part of. Lots of fun stuff always going on there. It's also brought to you by all of you out there watching, listening, and in the chat room right now. The 1,300 of you that got a little view of us that got tricked by YouTube into watching something new and interesting last week. Hopefully you stick around and have some fun with us. We will be talking about new things all the time. And we'll talk about as much Light No Fire and No Man's Sky as we can. As soon as we get more news, you will find it here. I was thinking, should we just be a Light No Fire show, Sema? Didn't go that far, but boy, no. That really did light some people's fires. And I know why, because it is one of the top things on my list as well. That is my game of the year. If that comes out, that's game of the year for me automatically. Another game that might be game of the year that some people are, it's only February here, but some people are like whispers of game of the year already is Avowed. Take a listen to this, Sema. This is one of the reasons I think people like it.
It's felt easy. Too easy. I've gotten comfortable. Okay. Not that part. I'm not a joiner. I'm good for a skirmish, some war stories, a few drinks, but I'm not someone you keep around.
That's Kai, not someone you keep around. And I beg to differ. I would disagree,
you want to keep
Kai.
Around. Yes.
Everyone wants to keep Kai around. Kai is great. So Kai is voiced by, let me get the actor's name correct, is voiced by Brandon Keener. And Brandon did the voice of Garrus in the Mass Effect series as well. Brandon is also an actor, has done some other things. Even recently, he's got 7 episodes of a new TV show in 2025 called The Pit. I've never heard of it before, but he's got a show. Garrus was a great companion to hang out with and have as part of the Mass Effect series. Really, really good. So that's one of the things that this game does really well. There's 4 companions that you can end up having around and hanging out with. I've met 3 of them so far in my playthrough. I've played about 16 hours. I do like it very much. Game of the year, we'll see. And I'll take you on a little journey here, Sema, through all the things I like about it and then where I've found some of the edges for me personally. But the overall summary, Metacritic, meta content creator perspective on this, for the most part, is positive. Anybody who's actually played it and likes games, and even the people that like to hate games, still mostly like this. The people that love drama, a couple people that love drama, are trying to, drum up drama around the game. Does it have too much of an agenda? Does it, is it too woke for any reason? It's really not. And it's nothing like what was going on with Veilguard. But so it's good to see people actually enjoying a game. And this is a game to enjoy. What are the things to enjoy about this game? I would say number 1, and wait, there was a little clip right there. There we go. See that little clip? So there's a wand. Oh, I just punched my microphone real hard. Did you hear that?
Yes.
Ow. So you got a wand, and you can dual wield in this game.
Yeah.
And you can dual wield whatever you want. And that's kind of a really nice, fun thing. We did an interview in our Behind the Games over a year ago with David Evans. So David Evans is an indie game dev, makes a game called Sailforth. And what he talked about in that interview, we named the title of that interview, Making Sailforth and the Toy Within. And what he kind of talked about was he kind of made a toy. He was goofing around with game dev, and he made like this boat. He wanted to like sail a little boat around, sailing this little boat around. That was the toy, right? And he had so much fun making that toy that he turned it into a game. But the toy part of it was something that really kind of like makes the game click, made it a thing that could be turned into a game. And I feel like for Avowed, the combat and what they did with being able to mix and match and swap things in and out, and have a front bar and a back bar to be able to like swap your whole weapon set, but dual wield things on both of your loadouts. That's kind of like one of the key like gimmicks, the difference, the toy that they've made. And I think they did a really good job with that. It's really fun. A lot of people then have like settled into what they have fun dual wield. Most of it's like the dual wielding, because you could get two-handers too. You could get, a big giant two-handed axe, but you have a key that you can hit to switch to a different loadout. And so you could have a two-hander on your main loadout, but then switch to like dual wielded daggers or pistols, or a pistol in one hand and a wand in another hand. Grimoire is another key. That's like the wizard spell book. So that's how you can like hold your spell book in one hand and your wand in another, or a spell book in one hand and a sword in another. And the spell book gives you then like, you can cast ice shards and then hit them with the sword and like shatter them, do fun things like that. But yeah, that I did have a lot of fun with that. People say that the combat is super good in Avowed, and I would say it's good. I play ranged, and I settled on ranged because it's definitely hard too. Do not underestimate the combat. I'm playing on normal, and first couple fights, I died. The progression is weird, and I'll get to that point in a second. And I was doing it wrong a little bit, which will make you die more than you don't necessarily need to be dying. Because if you don't understand how the progression works.
So are you saying that doing it wrong doesn't work as well as doing it less wrong?
Yes, I am saying that. But I'm saying that because doesn't work like other RPGs how you would expect. It's not just, like level up, increase your stats, put more points in health, and then you can fight. I guess let's talk about it. The way progression works is you need to up your gear score, and it's a hidden score, but you need to find materials to upgrade your gear. And if you don't upgrade your gear, and it's not very apparent, and they don't like your companions like tell you, oh yeah, you should upgrade your gear. But if the gear level of the mobs you're fighting is more than your gear level, like they have fine gear and you have common gear, the game like puts a big debuff on you. You do like 50% of the damage that you would be if you upgraded your gear. Just like if you went back to the camp and like put some stuff into it, you do like 50% of the damage, and you take a 50% more damage. So you get your butt kicked and you die. And you're like, am I not supposed to be in this area yet? Am I not high enough level? No, it's your gear. You didn't do the gear thing. But it doesn't really like tell you that. And there's not like a number on it. I mean, RPGs, we're used to making the number go up. There's like a little upgrade ticks, and there's green gear and blue gear and purple gear. So you do get the sense that you do want better gear, but not many other RPGs. It's like, well, if you're wearing green gear and not blue gear, then you're going to die. You don't get, that's not common. It's like, yeah, the green gear is better. Or if you told me a gear score, maybe I would be more aware of what's going on. Anyway, the toy is the combat. Understanding how to get stronger is a key part of it, though, and something you should probably pay attention to. And I was doing wrong. I was definitely doing wrong. So fine.
It looks really good.
It looks beautiful. Character creator in this is pretty good. You are what's called God touched. And what that means is you in this world, and they've made other games. Obsidian has made 2 other games that are in this universe. It's the Pillars of Eternity universe. So this is in that universe. And what this are the gods are around, but they're kind of not around. But anyway, there are some of these people that when they were born, they got some like powers from the gods a little bit. When you create your character, the way you manifest this is you apply some sort of like look to your character that affects their face and head. And you get like roots or mushrooms, or you mutate your head. That's what you are. I did a really low-key mutation, but you can go as far as like just have like mushrooms growing out of your eyeballs, and your hair is tree roots. You could sort of see, this is a playthrough, you could sort of see the tree root hair that this guy's got. You can have your like tree bark that completely shrouds your face. So it's pretty dramatic, the whole God-touched face look thing. But you're God-touched. That's the story. And you've got to go then into the world. But as you said, Sema, it's beautiful looking. The hair technology, I was showing this to some of my dev friends. The hair technology is great. The way they do like curly hair, like full head, river dance, ringlet curls, looks amazing. It looks really, really good. This is Kai, the fish guy. They do like the close-up views on Kai, and he looks amazing. Every stitching in his clothing, every scale on his bared chest there, his little cord with his little dolphin emblem. Mm-hmm. It's great. It looks really, really good. The whole world looks good. It's made in Unreal 5. They're obviously using a lot of the Unreal 5 features. They're using nanite. They're using, which makes all of the textures be able to have a lot, like tons more detail than you'd expect. They're using Lumen, I'm sure, and that makes the lighting do a lot more magic than it should. I think they're using Lumen. They could have done it other ways, but you go into like a building and there'll be like a lantern on the wall, but the lantern has a grill in front of it, and all of the light that's cast then has like the shadow of that lantern, and it's live dynamic lighting with the grill then projected of that lighting flowing out into the room, and it looks really, really good. All the light sources all put together. So yeah, beautiful game, beautiful game, and that's a great part of it as well. You can definitely have fun just standing around and looking around. There is a nighttime, but the nighttime still looks good. You know, that's a pet peeve of mine when night is just really dark and you can't see what's going on. You can't see the game. You know, you can't see the really good game. Here, when it's nighttime and the lighting is a big part of what's going on, and it's dynamic illumination all over the place, and bioluminescence of the plants and the caves and things like that, then good. Then it's worth it. Then then thank you for the lighting. Thank you for having a nighttime that is worth having. You also have these little camps though, and you sleep through the night most of the time. But it's still, when you are out there in the night, it's good. But yeah, Kai and Marius and Yatsley, Yatsley. Did I spell her name wrong? And then there's one other character that I haven't met yet that's supposed to be good as well. But Yatsley is a fun little character. She's like the little cat, one of the little cat people. Are they cats? They're furry? Here, I'll show you one that's back here at the beginning of the game that you meet. Who's this dude? You meet him, and he walks you through a little bit in the beginning. Where's the furry dude? Where's my little blue furry dude friend? Here he is. She's one of these, but she's a little pink version of one of these these furry people, little fox people of whatever kind. They've got like fur all over their skin, and they're pretty cool. But she's a character. She's definitely weird and funny and horny. There's not like romance and sex in this game, but she's like single entendre on fire. A lot. So that was fun. Kai is very solid companion-y kind of guy, and then Marius is the other companion. He's a dwarf. He's a dwarf tracker. Like, look at this dude. There's the main character. Whoever's doing this playthrough made for their video. He's got the roots for the hair, mushrooms on the eyes, but he's still got like the handlebar mustache and the lamb chop sideburns. But it's like he's got the mushroom eyes going on. Fungus face. But that's God touched. That's the whole God touch thing. Anyway, great companions. That's a big part of it. Exploration. That's another part of this game that's really shines. There's climbing. There's jumping. There's not really like jumping like platformer puzzles. You did have to like jump around a little bit, but like jump from here to there and your character grabs onto the ledge and climbs up. I never really felt like I was going to fall off or had to like do a jumping area a second time. Maybe there'll be more of that in the future, but I don't think they're really going for that. Instead, there's a lot of like, climb through this area, break down this little wall. You do have to use different abilities to break down certain walls. Like there are things like a spider web that you have to burn through. And if you can't burn through it, sometimes your companion can. So Kai has an ability with his blunderbuss pistol to burn through any of the things you need to burn through. So you can ask him to do that. There's a little wheel that comes up. That's nice. Some of theirs, you'll get to like a metal grate, and it'll have a little icon on it that's a little like a frost icon. And that needs some sort of frost ability to get through it. So either you have to have the ability, you have to have one of your companions have the ability, or there's like sometimes like thrown items like little grenades, and you can have a frost grenade and you could throw that at it. But then after you find these little places and these little niches and you run around and dig around and root around, you'll find treasure chests and things like that. And they can be really worth it. So it does feel rewarding. It does a weird thing because upgrading, as I mentioned, is so important to your gear. Mostly what you're looting, and I would say 95% of what you're looting is either directly the upgrade materials. There's like 5 or 6 or 7 different materials, and there's different grades of those. You get into the further zones, and you want the blue materials, not the green materials. Or you might be looting the weapons of the tier that you're at. So like common weapons, and you break those down for more materials. Or very rarely, you might get an item, like a piece of gear, a good piece, what they call uniques. And uniques are basically like the enchanted weapons. And then there's ways to upgrade the enchanting too. Like here, this person's going to have to go through a little puzzle to try to find a way into this little area. The way to upgrade the uniques is separate from the way to upgrade the regular gear. I haven't found very many, but I did find one. So I was like digging around. I'm like doing parkouring around the city for no real reason, but it was just kind of felt fun to explore. And so I'm climbing up the wall and I'm walking around and I find this statue, and the statue's like holding a potion, and health potions are really important because you don't have healing in the game. And I think one of the late companions might start healing you a little bit, but you have no healing in the game. So you need to be using these potions. And I'm like, oh, so health potions then are really valuable. So I found one. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I left on my way back down that hallway. I moused over that statue again that was holding the potion in a cool way, and a little tooltip popped up and then it was like gone. And I'm like, wait, what was that? So I moused over it again, and it said, oh, there's a switch. Oh, well, fine. Click the switch. Secret door opens next to the statue. There's a little chest. I've seen 50 chests in the last 10 minutes. But I open this chest, and this one has an enchanted ring in it. And that ring is a magic power ring that very slowly, I've got like 150 magic power, and this is like 1 magic power every 10 seconds. But that alone, you have no magic power recharge either. You need to do either new potions or food. That little magic power recharge was a game changer. So again, it really felt good when I found that thing, and it was a game changer to get it. And that trick of making it feel worthwhile in a game and making the player feel like they really found something good and it felt good.
That's the magic.
Yeah, that's the magic. So,
yeah. That's what every game is trying for.
So you've heard me talk about like the dual wheel, and I'm like waving my wand around. Did you see this wand? Did you see this
Yeah,
wand?
I did.
I made this actually. You know when I made this? I'm going to show it up close. This is actually the worst one I made. I made a dozen of these, and I did not make them on a lathe, although I should have used a lathe. You know what I used? I used a drill press. If everybody knows what a drill press is, it's like a large drill stand, and you put a big drill bit into it. And I put these dowel rods into it, and then I used a file and sandpaper to make it, and then I drilled the handle and like cut into it with really the wrong tool to be using. But I made a dozen of these for little kids. One of my kids' birthday parties, and every kid who came to the party got one. And then they got acrylic paint, and they got to paint up and bring home their very own wand.
Oh.
And it was at the height of Harry Potter at the time, and I still had one left over that I had on the shelf.
Are you going to paint it?
It's like stained in natural wood stain.
Yeah. Okay.
This is going to be a plain one. Anyway, I had this on the shelf, so I brought it because I do use a wand in my playthrough. I use the magic book and wand primarily, and you can upgrade the wand separately, and that's kind of like your main weapon, because the magic power is really limited, and you have to use a potion to fill it back up. So you can only cast like a handful of spells during the fight. The spells tend to be relatively powerful, but I kind of want to try different things. And one of the flaws in this system of dual wielding is you can do whatever you want, but once you do it and then you start upgrading, all of the upgrade materials are really limited and they don't respawn in the world. So you're like running around and finding these upgrade materials. And I upgraded my book and I upgraded my armor. You just one piece of armor that, it's like your chest piece that you upgrade, and maybe you've got like a secondary weapon that you're also upgrading, and then you've got your offhand weapon that you're upgrading. After you spend all your upgrade materials, you're out of upgrade materials, and there's not like a way to grind. Like you can buy some upgrade materials from the shops, but there's not a good way to like grind a bunch of gold or grind for more upgrade materials, and you looted all of them that are in the world and you're out of them. What are you going to do? So I would either need to like start the game over to do like to go with a different weapon set or cheat. And that to me is one of the flaws. It's really cheap to respec your skills. There's skill trees too. And the skill trees you can mix and match. Like I could get some like gun abilities and some spell abilities and some defensive abilities, like warrior abilities. I could get a couple abilities from each of these trees, and you slot like 6 of them on your bar or whatever. And so there's passives and things like that. And it's really cheap. It's like nothing it's inexpensive to respec, but you can't like, I'm kind of bored of my wand and I want to do something else. I want to have probably like a pistol, but I can't like do it because I don't have the upgrade materials. And we just talked about how important the materials, the gear score is. I'll like start getting like murdered in fights if I don't have the materials to upgrade. So what am I going to do?
I feel like I don't know, but I feel like there must be something.
I try to do searches on this, and other people have sort of like talked about this too as a little bit of a flaw. And then all of the videos that are saying, well, like, where do you get more upgrade materials? There are multiple, it's early days, but there are multiple videos out there about bugs in the game, and you can like exploit the bug to get like, an infinite loop of getting, materials from a shopkeeper kind of things, or infinite turn in on this quest to get a bunch of gold. And that's the only refuge for my question so far that I've found in spending some time trying to search for this.
Right.
So I feel that's a little bit of a flaw, because I don't mind like grinding for materials in games. I play survival games. I have hacked down forests worth of trees in my time and mined like thousands of rocks. So it's not like I would mind doing that, but I can't do that in this game.
You really, really, yeah. You want to be able to change if they, yes.
So
What's the point of changing your talents around easily and cheaply if you can't also change your weapons?
right. So I feel like that's a little bit of a flaw, and it might be either solved by patches, add-ons, or exploits. And I got to the point where I started thinking two things. And this was as of this morning. So I was like running out of time before the show anyway. But I like woke up this morning. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll play for another hour, because it is fun. I want to keep playing. But I did. I was like, I really want to do pistol. I'm bored of this wand. It's fine. It's good. But I want to do something else. And I almost like looked up one of these cheats and like, nah, I don't want to cheat, do I? And then I thought to myself, well, yeah, I do. Why would I not? If I can't play the game, if I can't do what I want, and I almost was saying to myself, the alternative was I'm just like not going to play or suffer through playing a way I don't want to play. Well, then it's wrong. It's a flaw in the game, and maybe I should just cheat so I can go try it. Then I can try the gun and see how it is and play something different, and maybe I'll go back to the wand. And that just seems like a flaw in the design. So, chat room is asking something like, why does it seem like the character's floating on the ground? It doesn't feel that way, and this has been some of the criticism that people have as they've watched the trailers and the previews for the game. Have said, oh, that combat, maybe it's really floaty and maybe it's something I'm not going to like. It doesn't feel floaty. It doesn't feel like you're skating around or floating around. The combat feels solid. Melee combat feels solid. The hits from the animals certainly feel solid. I went through about the first hour and a half of the game not knowing how to dodge and dying as a result of that. You do need to be dodging quite a bit. And once I learned how to dodge and practiced dodging, I started to survive a little bit more. But that turned me off of melee combat real early, which I could potentially want to go back and try. You could do like this person's doing sword and shield. You can block, but you're limited in what you can block also. And you're limited by stamina bar, which is your blocking. And Forster's saying that the game is designed for first person. It was originally designed for first person. That's why it might seem a little floatier in the graphics and the IK, the kinematics of how well your feet touch the ground and stick to the ground might feel a little floatier. Maybe that's why. I like playing in third person. I'm playing the whole time in third person. It doesn't feel floaty to me. It feels really good. So there's that. But yeah, I want to do the gun thing. I want to do the spell book in one hand. I want to do the gun in the other. So I think I am just going to do one of these cheats if there's a way you like, if you say words to your companion, if you like, it's just like you can say hi to them. You turn to them and press F to talk, and then you try to turn in a quest. It gives you the reward, but doesn't finish the turn in. So you talk to your companion again and so there, I just helped you cheat. But that's what I want to do. I'm probably going to cheat so that I can switch to the pistol and I can upgrade it to the quality that my wand is, and I can try it out because I should be able to. Why would I not be able to? If anybody can find a more legit way to grind out the materials, fine. But as you pick them up, you find these things. You could probably see them in this playthrough. There's little things on the ground. There's this guy here. I'm going to loot something out of here. And then there's little... I picked up 3 stones, 3 upgrade stones. Great. There's a bow leaning against the wall here. I can pick up that bow, and now I've got 1 upgrade material, and I need 14 for the last tier of upgrade. So it's a lot. You need a lot. And there's like 3 tiers of upgrade of all the common materials.
Choices that matter, Max.
Kind of. There's another way that I might be missing to do the upgrades, which is as you move to each new area, and you upgrade your wand to the next tier. So you go to the blue tier. So you start out with the green tier. So I've got a green tier wand. I think when you upgrade to blue tier and you move to the next area, blue tier like the common blue tier weapons will be dropping, and I could probably get a blue tier gun by doing that. And maybe that's the way to do it. Maybe I should just call the green tier is dead to me, move on to the blue tier, and wait for a blue tier gun to show up or buy a blue tier gun from a shopkeeper. I don't know. The bears, there's a lot of bears. Some people have criticized a little bit the diversity of creatures that you're fighting. You fight a lot of spiders, and you fight a lot of bears, and you fight a lot of lizard guys. Skeletons too.
Do you fight any other
people?
I mean, not people, not PvP, but like, yeah. People.
Yeah, there's rebels.
Okay.
Let me go back to the other video because there's another. Now we're getting into like the stories of the game. Any other questions on the mechanics? I think we're kind of done with that. But I can tell you another good story that cracked me up in a funny way. So this is in the trailer. You see it in the trailer. So, but I guess technically it's a little bit of a spoiler. It is a little bit of a spoiler. So if it's a spoiler for part of the early game story. So if skip ahead about 2 minutes if you don't want a spoiler for this or for season 1, like the 6th episode of 3 Body Problem, which is a very minor spoiler, but it's a spoiler there, and it's a very parallel to what happens in this game that makes me laugh. That I shouldn't laugh, but it makes me laugh. All right, spoiler. So very early in the game, there are these rebels. You're kind of like part of the political faction. You're like a colonizers. So it's the Adirans are coming. This is like the wildlands. It's settled by migrants as well. It was basically pristine territory. There was no indigenous peoples, but they settled the land. They've been hanging out there for a while. The Adirans are like coming and like imposing order and like bringing their politics and their rule, and the locals don't like that. And you represent the king. You're there to solve the Dream Scourge and try to figure out what's going on with the Dream Scourge, which is kind of an unexciting mission. But anyway, you got to do that. There's ways that it'll become more exciting, but it's kind of not too exciting in the beginning. The side quests are more exciting, fun stories there. But the locals don't like you. One particular faction in particular is like some rebels. And you walk into town, in the high town, and there it is right there. Immediately you walk into town and thwack, you take a deadly poisoned arrow to the gut and die. You die. Now, fun things happen after you die, but that cracked me up. In the same way, in season, it's like episodes. I think there's like 8 episodes in 3 Body Problem. One of the main characters is Saul, and he's one of the little researchers. And there's some politics that happen where the antagonists get interested in Saul, and that makes the government, the protagonists, get interested in him because he must be important. And they tell him, "You're now an important person. You're a person of interest. You're an important person. We're going to give you resources so you can like help out and figure it out and whatever you want, and protection." And he's like, "I don't want any of this. I don't want your protection." They're like, "You're going to need our protection." He's like, "I don't want it. And you got to do what I say, right? Because I'm this important person." "Well, then I don't want it." He walks out the front door of the embassy and bam, gets shot right there. Bam! Saul takes a bullet. He's wearing a bulletproof outfit, and they made the point of that even before that. So you don't feel too bad. But I laughed out loud when Saul got shot. I laughed out loud when my character walks into town and bam, takes a bullet to the chest. It's like, I don't know why that makes me crack up so much. So yeah, so there's that. But yeah, so there's a faction of rebels that don't like you. A lot of people don't like you. You keep like collecting enemies for whatever reason. There's another godlike that showed up in some of the earlier trailer videos. It was in the trailer video where you see the guy who's made out of gold, it looked like. We saw that when we saw like the Xbox showcase a year ago. You do confront him, and that was a side quest. I think later you get they handle this pretty well. Like if you find a little cave and you go in there and you like solve the thing that was in the cave, and there's this dude in this cave, and I like find out I like solved the whole story. So when I got into town and people were like, "Oh, you should go to this cave and do this thing," you can say, "Oh, I already did that thing." They're like, "Oh, well, then you know the story of what happens." So that's fine because you can like get ahead of yourself. Anyway, I was in there, and this was the dude who's all made out of gold. His skin is all gold with some cool paint job on it. He's all God touched also. But why couldn't I be? Why do I gotta have like mushroom head? Why couldn't I be made out of gold? Why couldn't that be the way the gods touched me? They made me all like gold and shiny and chrome onto Valhalla. No, I gotta have like mushrooms growing out of my eye sockets. I felt a little jealous of gold guy. But anyway, I did the whole. I found out what was up with him, and minor spoilers there. It wasn't all roses and godlike abilities. But I solved that, and I had more fun. And I think this is not uncommon as people talk about Avowed so far, that the side quests are just as good, if not, just as fun as continuing to follow the main quest. Because as I said, the main quest, you have been sent by the king to find out why the Dream Scourge is infecting the land. So yeah, fine, you got to go find out why the Dream Scourge is infecting the land. But it's not a lot of like urgency. There's not a lot of. So it's fine. It's a fine like main driving force that gives you the freedom, which I think you kind of need in these semi-open world RPGs, so that you can go off and do these other things. Because if there's too much urgency, you feel weird doing the other things. Cyberpunk 2077 made me feel weird every time I went off and did a side quest, because it's like, you're going to die. You got to get this chip out of your head. It's Johnny Silverhand. He's going to take over your personality. You're about to die. Oh, but I'm going to spend the afternoon. I'm going to go do this thing over here because this guy's got a cool gun. And I'd like to spend a couple days getting this gun. But you're going to die, but it's okay. Okay, well, let's go do that. Weird.
Pause that timer.
Yeah.
Let me go do this other thing.
So here it's like the Dream Scourge is infecting the land, but you don't feel like, they're not saying like, and if you don't get there the next 5 hours, the world's going to explode. So you can feel free to go off and do these other things, and it's pluses and minuses that there isn't the urgency, because you also then feel like the main quest is maybe a little dull, and these side quests can feel more compelling because there's more urgency and more resolution and more progress. But I'm only 16 hours. People have said they've finished it in as few as like 25 hours of content. But I think you could go much, much longer, because I'm not even doing a ton of the side quests. More exclamations keep popping up in the cities, which is, as you walk through the city, you'll get the unsubtle version of, "Godlike, can I have a moment of your time?" To the more subtle version where there'll be like two guards standing over a corpse. And they're like, "Oh my gosh, I wonder what happened here." And if you walk over to it, you can like find a note on the corpse, and then that would lead you on a little quest. The other funny story, which is a weird thing in this game, and I think games could even do it a little bit better. But this is like every RPG, which is, I need all these materials I got to loot all these materials so I can upgrade my stuff, right? So they really kind of like encourage you to loot everything. Plus, there's stuff like these letters. There's a bunch of lore, and there's books all over the place, and you're supposed to like click on all of those, and if you want, read pages of books and lore and that kind of thing too. And there's like chests everywhere, and they're glowing, and they make sounds, and it's obvious you're supposed to like find your way to this chest. But these are all like in people's houses and like loot like on their shelves. So you're like taking their stuff.
Right.
And for the most part, nothing happens, and nothing does. You can take everything, But once in a while, either one of your companions or the person whose stuff it is might say something about it. the one woman. I went to the one woman. She's like a soul healer, and she told me her stuff, and then I'm like, then there's like stuff laying on her table, and I start taking it. She's like, I'm standing right here. I could see you taking my stuff. Or another woman, I like went up to her shop, and then I like immediately loot the plant, and then I have a conversation with her, and she's like, and of course, if you need anything, like there's the plant there, and you can like take anything you need. I would, you're the envoy. I'm happy to. I'm like, okay. There's one point. It was dark, and again, this is why darkness can be bad, because I can't see what's going on. I'm walking through the city, and anything you can loot gets lit up with like a little yellow outline on it. It's not too glaring. It doesn't take you out of it too much, but I loot, there's like some coins. There's something glowing on the ground, and the coins are really small. So there's something round glowing on the ground, and I loot it. And then I look closer, and it was like coins out of a beggar's plate. And the beggar's sitting right there. And the beggar goes, "Haven't you Adirans taken enough?" I had only
and there's no way to give it back.
No, you can't like put them back. I only took one of his 3 coins, so I left the other 2 at least. But you need this stuff. It's and you like the chests are like glowing and making noise, like "come get me, come get me." But to come get it, you got to like break into somebody's house. You break into somebody's house, and your companions are like, "Oh, I didn't realize this guy was a painter." And then you like take all of his stuff. So it's weird. It's weird. You feel bad about it, but you have to do it because that stuff doesn't exist in the game. It can't like grind, as I said, you can't like go down into the forest and chop down trees. If you did, you'd probably feel bad about doing that for whatever reason. So yeah.
I thought this was leading into when you were talking about picking up everything, that was leading into an inventory thing.
No, thankfully. Inventory is not bad. Inventory is really good in this game. In fact, you can put points into strength or whatever, and if you're a warrior, you need to do that because it gives you more power. But it says like a secondary effect is it increases your carrying capacity. You don't need it. You don't need that at all. The only things that have any weight for you to carry are weapons and your main chest piece armor. The secondary armor pieces, which are gloves and boots, have no weight. All of your potions, all of the food that you pick up, all of the gold or treasures, or, you can pick up like little gems out of these chests that you can sell directly for gold. None of that weighs anything. And then if you get overloaded, there's a button that says send to camp. And the camps work kind of like the camp does in Baldur's Gate, which is you can quick travel to any of the camps that you've discovered, but it ends up just being being like just like a camp location. They're all, once you go to the camp, it's like a little enclosed in area, and it's got like your upgrade table, your stash, your cooking fire, and your companions hanging out. And then you have like extra conversation with your companions, but you could just send anything there anytime you want. And 95% of the time, anything you send to your camp, you're just going to want to break down for materials anyway. So it's like, no, inventory is not a problem at all. Not a problem, barely an inconvenience. Not like most other games, which is great. So good to know, good to see. Feels good. It's not as open of an open world as you might want. So there's that to deal with. There's like these upgrade limitations and limited materials. That's another thing that you could potentially want different. There's been like again, I think it's mostly clickbait videos, but you know how in
my MMO brain is saying, so what if you have to just stick with your wand for another 9 hours?
Right. Yeah. Like we do that in our MMOs for however long until we get the one drop we're trying to get off of the big dragon.
Right.
That might be an upgrade.
Then you play through again.
it's not like an open world simulation sandbox. So
Right, I know.
there are comparison videos out there that are showing like Skyrim versus this. And in Skyrim, I can kill the chickens. Look, I'm killing the chickens. And then they show the Avowed like split screen. In Avowed, you shoot at the chickens and you can't kill the chickens. In Skyrim, I can fight all the guards. And in Avowed, you can't fight the guards. And in Skyrim, I can shoot arrows up into the air and they fall down and they stick into the ground. Look how cool that is. Well, in Avowed, it doesn't work that way. Well, that's not this kind of game. And if just play the game. Or if you want to play Skyrim, play Skyrim. This game doesn't make Skyrim, doesn't delete Skyrim off of your hard drive. If you want arrows that stick in the ground and you really want to kill some chickens, go play Skyrim and kill some chickens. I don't have a compelling need to kill chickens in every game that I play, so it didn't really bother me. I didn't even try to kill the chickens, so it's fine. So Plausible in the chat room is saying it does seem to like pull parts of a bunch of other games, so you could feel like it's like copying a bunch of other games. Like the camp maybe feels like Baldur's Gate. Some of the stuff maybe feels like Skyrim, but it doesn't have all of the things out of there. Is it ripping those off? Maybe, but it's fun and good and compelling. It's good characters and the combat feels good and the dual wielding is like its little twist and it's an RPG and why not have more of those? So I don't really have a problem with that. I think it's a fine way to have fun. Like, do we care that, some people do, they hate Batman because they like Iron Man. And so you can only like DC or Marvel. You can't like both. They're both ripoffs of each other. Totally. There's a guy who goes really fast in DC. There's a guy who goes really fast in Marvel. There's a guy who shoots arrows in DC. There's a guy who shoots arrows in Marvel. But that's okay. That is okay with me. Not with everybody though. So if you want something truly novel and unique, there are very few things. There are some, but there are a few things that are completely novel and unique and Avowed that you will never see anywhere else. So I think with that, we are wrapped up for today. Fun stuff. And as always, all the feed and subscribe links are on newoverlords.com and the video's up on YouTube/newoverlords. Please come chat with us in our Discord at newoverlords.com/Discord. And you can also follow on all the social networks and we will keep you up to date there too. And with that, as always, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.